For our first tip, we have checkpoints. You can use checkpoints to get further ahead. So as you jump across, and you don't actually have to get on the platform. So if we watch this green and gray character right here, I jump off, get the checkpoint, kill myself, and actually spawn further than them, allow me to get a further head start on my opponents, allow me to qualify quicker and get further in the race. At the same time, these skills do take time to practice, so it's going to take a little while, so you're not going to get on the first try. That's with all skills. Leading into tip number 2, using the barriers on fruit shoot. If you just run between the barriers on the left or right side, the fruit will usually hit the barrier and hop right over you. Now the trick I do is I run and jump. This actually does help propel you a little bit forward. As you can see that I am starting to lose the people behind me, especially since they're not using the barriers to their advantage. And a little side note is when the track turns into actual flooring, to watch out because you will get stuck there. For tip number 3, we have using the swirls to your advantage. So most people will usually jump over them. You can actually use them to propel you forward when you walk in the direction of them. You can also use these big fans to propel you up and out if you need to, but I wouldn't recommend. I just recommend going through, especially on these fans up ahead, just walking between them. A little bonus tip here is you can actually skip a majority of it and get this check right here. Skipping 2 swirls, allowing you to get further ahead while most people are still going around. For this tip, if you're struggling to remember the fruit, there are 6 unique fruits. That's banana, cherry, grape, orange, peach, and watermelon. And the trick I do, instead of repeating, because a lot of people repeat the fruit like banana, cherry, grape, what I do is I just say the first letter, because each one has its own unique. So for example, right here, instead of saying watermelon, banana, orange, I would say WBG, WBO, 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 and then wait for the fruit that comes up, and as soon as the fruit comes up, think of what fruit that is and say the first letter. So right now it would be B, so then I would go WBO and instantly know where the B is. This especially helps on the 3rd round when there's 6 fruit to remember. Instead of getting confused and saying all fruits, you can just say the letter. Make it easier on yourself to remember where each fruit is instead of trying to figure out by name. Just figure out by letter, and it makes it 10 times easier. This one's more about taking risk on rollout, when you can land and jump on those platforms to help you stay away from people, allow you to stand in one position, because the more you switch, the more likely you are to die. Especially stay away from the shiftings of the platforms, because people will try to grab you. And a little side note is be careful when you do jump into it that people will touch grab you, and if they touch grab you, you won't make the jump and you'll die. So it is a little tricky. You have to watch out for people around you. And this just makes sure that you're not changing as much, that you stay away from people who are trying to grab you and kill you. Especially on this one, as you see, the fruit is shooting at me. So I don't want to get shot by the fruit, get knocked down and then have to fall all the way down and die and not even qualify for the round. So this one is about taking risks and just be mindful of your surroundings. For this tip, it's on slime climb, which there's obviously many variations of them. But there's a lot of shortcuts you can use. For me, I don't do a lot of the shortcuts. I think it's too risky. But a lot of the shortcuts are just simple, cutting out here and there. I don't like to do the really big jumps because they're too risky. Like right here, I just skip one fist. And especially on this part, if you don't think you're gonna make it, just die. There's little shortcuts you can take, and you can try the big ones, but personally, I don't do them because I think it's too risky. But these are just little shortcuts you can take, as you can watch throughout the clip and find them. You can also watch other videos that go into more detail about them. Especially on this part of the slime climb, you can dive under these if you think you're going to get hit and knocked over, because they'll go right over your body, which is really helpful. For this next section, you can actually use your momentum to get up the slime. You can also use these propellers to help you. I'm not very good at it, but you usually just stand on the closer to the tip of it and it will propel you forward very easily. For this next tip, it's on tiptoe. What you can do is, if you look at the titles, some of them shake. That means they're fake. Also, at the very beginning, all you can do is just jump out there. Just don't wait for everybody else to go ahead. But look, you can see right in front of me, this tile shakes. I'll just jump on it to show you that any tile that does shake is in fact fake. But they say about once the path gets about midway, at that point, just start following people. But at the very beginning, you can just jump around. You got nothing to lose at that point. So at this point in the match, I'm looking around to see which ones are shaking at the very end, the last 2 rows, because as soon as you find the second to last row, the last row of it will be a complete tile. So I'm trying to see the last 2 rows, see which ones are shaking. So as soon as I see one shake, I know it's not that way. So I know that this right in front of me is not the correct way, this last end isn't the correct way, but I know the one before it is not the correct way. Basically just looking off the shaking tile. This tip is for hexagons, so basically what you want to do right here is just create a path that you can only follow. So I like to make like a swirl so that it makes it much harder than making actual sections harder for your opponent. As you can see, my opponent just flies right next to me because they follow my gaps, and now I have a clean path that only I can follow while he's down there just running around and I'm a level ahead of him. As you can see here, my opponent didn't make a path, and now I have all this extra room to move around on, and I can create my own path. While he's on the very last bottom level, struggling to stay alive, while I have more tiles. At this point, I'm just putting out for the victory, and I get it.